Oh man, Orville Peck, fancy. Que pasa, mi amigos? I'm here, but the hour we just had is gone. The new hour's coming up. Noon to 3, side stage with Trav. Then an hour of automation. And then Bingo Bango, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson from 4 to 5 every Thursday. And this Thursday's no different. 4:20, we get into a big fat bag of cannabis news and from the week past. And we'll take a look at that. And then the magic. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis legalization, and we talk about everything cannabis-related positive, you know. And if it isn't positive, I'm going to spin it, because here, it's pro-cannabis. And I'm Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Cannabis is, C is for cannabis, and cookie. King of Green. That's me. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go and donate. I would encourage that. Or listen to other shows, or mine and repeat if you're one of those lotion in the basket weirdos. And we got places for that too. So come on down to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, where we cover cannabis and cannabis legalization in a positive light. And I'm a little extra groovy today because I've been in Mexico the last week, you know, where the highs average 70-some degrees. And but Fargo is beautiful, and I hope it's beautiful where you're listening. KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo. 701-478-4959 is the number of the studio. Again, RadioFreeFargo.org. Archives, donate, just put it on your phone. But anyway, if the new year if the new year's already up in your head, I understand that. So the mobile mental health crisis response number is 1-800-233-4512. Give them a ring dingy. Get your head fixed. The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And I got to say, with a full mouth of teeth, I don't know, it might just be in my head, but I sound pretty good. So welcome. Again, it's Thursday, 4 to 5, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We cover cannabis in a cannabis legalization in a positive light. We're here to change the law, not to break the law. And we definitely have stuff, finally, like if you had a cannabis, if pro-cannabis was a baseball team, North Dakota has got 2 runners on base. And so we're going to talk about the 2 runners on base that are going to try to push cannabis legalization in the beautiful state of North Dakota. So stay tuned for that. It'll be at 4:20. I'm going to open a bag of cannabis news. So that's the way that is. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. You'll hear this again tomorrow, minus the music. ND for Freedom is also a Facebook page. And then Sunday, you got Philip Cannahead Pilko. He does the Cannaheads on Canna-Talk ND, and you can check that out too. And again, RadioFreeFargo.org. Get on over there, drop down a couple Bitcoin. Bitcoin, am I right? Wow. But anyway, we're at the first musical break, I think. So let's just do it. Again, welcome, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Here's Legalize Me, Prophets of Rage. Thank you. Legalize Me, Prophets of Rage, Radio Free Fargo 95.9. Here in Fargo, Moorhead, the Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what you're strapped into right now. You're like, what's that mean? What's the Canna word mean? Well, it's the first 4 letters of the word cannabis, and C is for cookie and cannabis, just in case you're wondering. And here we're going to talk about cannabis legalization and the like. And for you guys that listen, know that I had to do some scale-y flying last week. Actually, 6 planes gets me down to the border in Harlingen, and then Nuevo Progreso is where my dentist lives. So, and again, I would recommend it. But anyway, you guys might also know that I got it's called a Pocket Guide to Pot, and it's got a bunch of stuff in it. And so I marked a couple here, and I'm going to tell you about them because they're kind of interesting. So this strain is G13, and I would imagine some of you know what that is. It's an indica. Now, the lineage is unknown from Mississippi, which is wild, but I always remember the rumor around this. G13 is a legendary strain that is rumored to have been born and bred by the U.S. government in the 1970s. Although a series of 23 clones were thought to have been cultivated at the U of Mississippi, only plant number 13 somehow escaped, and the rest is history. This urban legend has since become a go-to choice when creating many of today's popular hybrid crosses. This rare daytime indica has a unique ability to provide an uplifting full-body high with no tiredness and a clear mind. G13 is a super specimen of pure indica. And I don't know, it's came across my plate a few times, way back before the statute of limitations, way back. But anyway, G13, it's an interesting one to talk about. When you whip it out, you go, hey, mine managed to get, stolen out of the university in the 70s. And let me talk to you about lamb's bread. The name of this tropical sativa, lamb's bread, is often used in Jamaica, Mon culture, and music as a metaphor to express marijuana's effects and abilities. And the ability of this strain to give you an uplifting head rush is second to none. But what I think is interesting about it is lamb's bread hits you with a sense of creativity. It's no wonder the immortal Bob Marley sang songs of its praises. So if you think a few hits in the morning will have you smiling at the rising sun, and not worrying about a thing. Man, I'm a good singer. All right. And lastly, some of you old schoolers will know about this. Panama Red, huh? Doug knows what I'm talking about. Panama Red is a legendary landrace, which I might interject that means it was originally grown and it showed up in nature. Nobody was tweaking it, Panama Red just was growing in the breeze. There's a legendary landrace ganja immortalized in a song and a story dating back to the 1960s. Panama Red is one of the first brand names ever get into a cannabis strain, along with its rival Acapulco Gold. Panama Red, a throwback that continues to gain popularity with anyone who smoked the red, whatever that means. RadioFreeFargo.org, educating you. And if you got a medical card, you can, ask about it at Impure Dakota, where the pot runs purple. But anyway, we're still waiting on the results of that test of, grassy knoll. But again, we're going to talk about a couple runners on base in North Dakota. We got a couple options that, you can go with both, or just I'm going to educate you, and let you know. ND for Freedom, of course, is running back again, so we'll talk about that. And then it looks like some legislators are doing some sort of a legal push, and it's House Bill 420. So we're going to talk about that at 420, and where we open a bag of cannabis news on you. And this week's no different. I'm back from Mexico. It's time to get back into the music. Here's Hello, I'm Johnny Cash. Oh, man, KRFF 95.9, LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo, 701-478-4959, RadioFreeFargo.org. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson just handed you 2 songs by Alabama 3 in 2007, 2008. And my kid and I used to listen to that Johnny Cash one. That's great. But anyway, we got to get into it. Every Thursday at 4:20, I open a bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. So what I do is I play a little intro tune, and then on the other side of it, we just get into that. Cannabis. It's like cannabis that.
Yo, it's Wilson from Canna-Talk ND. The super awesome show you're getting ready to listen to. I think you should go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll wait. Okay, enjoy the show.
Okay, we'll just go ahead and get into it. Hello, everybody. So, first of all, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday at 4:20. We open a bag of cannabis news, and that's what we're doing right stinking now. Welcome to all of you. And I just wanted to say that, hi. No, I wanted to say more than that. But anyway, so anyhow, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We talk about cannabis legalization, and this particular Thursday, since I think a pre-recorded Canna-Talk ND happened last Thursday, but I'm not for sure because I gapped it out, like I do in the last minute. I'm in how that goes. So if that was the case, I apologize, and we're back on track here in the new year. Talking about cannabis in North Dakota, it's going to get with it too. And I know I hear that a lot, because I'm always talking about cannabis legalization. How come you're not talking about North Dakota? Well, quite frankly, there wasn't anything to talk about. So I kind of talked about as much as I could, where it had a related feel, But I can tell you now that, and I'm reading this off normal, but North Dakota, all right, marijuana legalization effort. Legislation is pending to legalize the use, possession of retail sale of marijuana for adults in North Dakota. Now, I would imagine normal should be saying cannabis, right? I mean, isn't that a concerted effort that we're supposed to call it by its name? And then the pinnacle of, the way legalization, should be pushed, the original, advocates would be the first ones to say cannabis in their articles. So that's just me. But anyway, it's House Bill 1420. Okay, guys, take a minute, but, amongst yourselves to talk about how that's a neat sounding House bill. I'm sure they didn't do it on purpose. All right, so House Bill 1420 would allow adults 21 and older to legally purchase and possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana or cannabis from a licensed retail outlet. And I have heard that it's going to be a 15% tax. Then there might be something else, you know what I'm saying? But what you can do is you can go on, you can go to my, ND for Freedom page, and it's going to be there. It's a PDF, and you can read it all day long. But I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm just going to tell you a few things. So it was presented by Representative Dr. Becker. Let me see here. I'm getting old. Mitzcog, Mock, Porter, Roars Jones, M. Ruby, and Senator Meyer, which I have it on good authority that it's a blend of, opinions across the aisle, and I throw up a little in my throat just saying that. But anyway, they're the ones that presented it, and it's going to be so up to 1 ounce you're going to be able to have. So, and because it has a decent chance, and I've heard everybody go, well, there's no home grow, and it isn't, but in a second I'm going to talk about the one that does, and I'm going to tell you that, for example, one of the main features of Cuomo's legislation, and that's New York, and I'm reading this out of Marijuana Moment, it draws mixed reviews from advocates. And one of the reasons is that there's no home grow, or even for medical cannabis patients. And so, so it's kind of wonky. And I have a hard time figuring it out, but I think it's about control and the revenue. And even though it was not popular by these very people that are going to try to dominate it, home grow is very important, I believe. But I also believe that if it's legally able to obtain right now, while we work out the other details, that benefits everybody, in the state of North Dakota specifically. And so I'm going to talk a little more about this Cuomo guy and what they're doing in New York. But it's been met with mixed reviews from advocates and stakeholders. And I think stakeholders is what kind of starts to get me, because stakeholders, they're the ones that take the risk to do a particular thing. So it means it has risk, they got to put stake in it. It just isn't happening. It's not like selling sausage links. Not sure what that means. All right. But so we'll get back to Cuomo. But I'm going to talk about South Dakota here as soon as I tell you. So anyway, so House Bill number 1420, you can look for that as it comes along. You can go to pages, like I'll post it at Canna-Talk ND. I'll talk about it here every Thursday at 4:20 when I open a big bag of cannabis news. Here on RadioFreeFargo.org, you can trust that I'm going to be as close to it as I can possibly be. And ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, they have submitted to the SOS, which is slang for Secretary of State if you're not hip, which I'm completely hip, about 110% hip. So, when you're this hip, you've got to say what I just said. And you're also supposed to not remember what you just said, so you couldn't recount. You know what I mean? But anyway, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, I was the sponsor of the first push. I'm just kind of a, what is it, conscientious objector? No, that ain't right. But I'm in the background watching them, and I wish them the best, and it, and it should be cool. Leslie Ann Paulson, Committee for Compassionate Care, as she is involved in that very much. So I'll get her in here, once they get the ball rolling. And so I'll keep you up to date on that. But let's see if I can even remember. It'll be 21 and over to possess. You have 12 plants you can grow. It's a licensed business. And I forget the last one. But I had David Thompson in here, the lawyer who did write the measure. I had him on a couple times. And good dude, good measure. So when I use the parallel of two players on base, that's what you got. You got legislators, House Bill 1420. They've submitted. So I'm assuming, from what I know, it'll be voted on in a committee or two, and then it'll go to the floor of the House. Then it'll move its way into a committee or two. And then it'll be voted on in the Senate. And then if that goes through, then Dougie Bo Dougie, Banana Nana Fo Fuggy will sign the thing or not. But it's written in such a revenue positive light, it's hard not to sell it to money guys, And again, we will talk about this right now for fun because I'm on a roll. This is also on normal. Legal marijuana sales spiked dramatically in 2020. You go ahead and guess real fast. Sales of legal marijuana products rose by more than $7 billion in 2020. In all, customers purchased an estimated $17.9 billion in cannabis products from legal retailers in 2020. Up from $10.7 billion in 2019. Leafly's analysis includes sales from both medical use and adult use retailers. The spike in sales was in large part due to the customers purchasing greater quantities of cannabis per retail transaction than ever before, and its shift began with the outset of COVID-19, and because they were considered essential workers, their business was considered essential, they maintained, and that was awesome. And apparently the dramatic rise in retail sales is not only a reflection of increased consumer demand, but also the result of many consumers shifting from the illicit market to the above-ground legal marketplace. So, all good stuff. And, so I don't know nothing about nothing, but up, when you say stuff like up from 10.7 billion to almost 18 billion, those guys that have the fancy little pocket thing in their suit pocket, they go, tell me more, they say. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that brings me to this particular idea. Do you vote for something that has the home grow, which is for the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act? Or do you vote for both? Because one, I don't know if you do vote for the legislative one. No, no. That one just happens or it doesn't. Right. So, but who knows how long that'll be. But I don't think, you should give up. And I think that's the point. You get one through that gets us to where, you can say it's illegal. All right? You can say it's illegal. You can take care of your head and your grandma's, foot topical. You can't make the foot topicality yourself. Not a real word. But you can have it until you can. So, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, 21 plus to possess. And you licensed businesses only, and 12 plants you can grow, which I'm seeing, hopefully, because, we are seeing progress. It is getting legalized, but the way they're looking at it is different than, I suppose, my hippie mentality. Like we should all be able to make something instead of one guy making it all and then throwing us down something, because that's not what cannabis is all about. I mean, it was grown for us to use and to utilize for all the things that it's, that you can do. You can build with it, paint with it, medicate with it, have it, make it Christmas presents at Christmas time. So, again, I would think that you would have to bug your stinking representatives and get them, listening to you. So, I would start pressuring Becker, Doctor, Roar Jones, and the other ones that I mentioned. You can go check it out and then just stay on them. And then I suppose you want to call them all. You call them all and just keep doing it, I guess. So I put the pressure on so they feel you. Feel me? So anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. At 4 o'clock I get in here, and at 4:20 I get down, open a bag of cannabis news, and that's what we're up to our nipples in right now. And so you're starting to see that, the legislators are presenting options, but they're not they're a selfishly, maybe ignorant derived direction, where it's less people and more something else. And I'm sure there's a word in there that some of you smarty pants can put in there. But anyway, so that's what's happening in North Dakota. You got the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, and I would imagine that you're going to start seeing something to sign, sooner than later. They wait like a week or so for the SOS to proof it, but we've already proofed it, and David Thompson is a good lawyer. He's already, it's already fine, so that's going to happen. There's no reason why that won't work unless, I don't know, the sponsors, unless there's some sort of weird, unless there's a couple burglars on the sponsor list, which I say that in jest, but anyway, so that you can be waiting to hear from, and you'll start seeing it in the stores, I'm sure. Again, educate yourself so you can educate others, and so now you can tell your relatives, and I'm telling you that, yes, there is something going on in North Dakota now. There's Becker, Becker and his friends, they've submitted the House Bill 1420, and then you've got stinking Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act, and that one's a ballot initiative and a constitutional amendment, which kind of gets some people hung up, with the constitutional amendment. I say let's just stop fooling around and start, getting it, and just push it all avenues, because if you ignore one goal, that one's not as good as this one, or if you're pushing that one, you're like, well, I don't want to push for both. I think you should push for both, because that's what I'm doing, and I'm not, professionally or personally involved in any of it. I'm just Wilson, who believes that cannabis should be available to all of us, and as soon as possible, because I believe suffering can be alleviated by cannabis in all the forms of application. So every day that cannabis does not get legalized here in North Dakota for the good of the people, it's too late. It's too long. It's too long. So I say let's go with everything that we got. Now, our brothers of another mother, and although I see South Dakota as being more feminine, I don't know what I'm talking about, but South Dakota lawmakers form Cannabis Caucus to address marijuana legalization issues. This was submitted 22 hours ago by Marijuana Moment. Let's read it. It's by Nick Lowry, South Dakota News Watch. Entrepreneurs, come on, Wilson. Entrepreneurs across South Dakota are already taking steps to claim a share of the state's soon-to-be legal marijuana market, or as we say, cannabis market, but legislators and regulators are off to a slow start in crafting laws and rules to govern the controversial new industry. They're off to a slow start, are they? I'd be surprised if they said we hit the ground running on this. They've sued, the stinking governor, Christy Don't Know Him, and her, her Pancho Villa crew. They've sued. They're trying to get it stricken. They're using the taxpayers' money that voted for it to try to get it off. So that's crazy to me. So, of course, they're off to a slow start. So, as I read, the sale, possession, and use of rec and medicinal marijuana are set to become legal in South Dakota for the first time on July 1st. Let's give everybody in South Dakota that voted for this a hand. Man, that gets me in the feels every time I read stuff like that, because I can just picture the cops and everybody else's faces when that was just like pop, 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 pop. Yeah. So when the 2021 South Dakota legislative session started on January 12th, only one bill regarding marijuana had been filed. So I just don't know what that means. But a group of 15 Republican lawmakers have formed what they call the Cannabis Caucus. That sound familiar to you guys, huh? Cannabis Caucus? To address marijuana issues this session. But leaders in both the Repub and the Demo parties say discussions on preparing for legalization and regulation of the business of marijuana sales, possession and use, one of the top matters facing the 2021 legislature, have barely begun. These are the grammar words, slow going, barely begun, we probably won't get it done yet. Kind of reminds me of Mexico. However, I was in Mexico, and the word on the streets is that in fact is, happening. Even like I say the simple man, the simple hombre, he's they're all pretty positive. And again, Mexico's going to be 18 and 18 over. So to me, that sounds like a way cool thing for an 18-year-old to do. All of a sudden, right? Get 6 buddies and roll down. Oh man, roll down and roll up, huh? But anyway, not everything will be done at the end of this session, said Senate Majority Leader Gary Kamak. I know there's been talk about the need for a special session. See, again, I say, come on. So anyway, one high-ranking Senate leader said enacting a regulatory framework for legal marijuana will probably require more than one session and will likely spill into the 2022 session or require a special session. But if July 1st is when it goes into dit, I don't know why they're saying spill in. because it sounds like they're going to say, they're going to want us to believe that it isn't because they're taking too long. See, that's how it got backwards. We hire people or we vote people in to work for us, and then we're waiting on them. That don't make any sense to me. I mean, we've told you we want it. So why would we want you to take your time and all that stuff? Why would you need special sessions? Why would you tell me, I don't think we're going to get it done in time? I didn't realize that's what you could say to me, or South Dakota resident. So anyway, South Dakota Secretary of State's office handled 907 more new business filings during the last 3 months of 2020 than it had during the same period 2019, many of them related to legal weed. So that's exactly cool. Exactly how many new business filings are related to marijuana is unknown, but it was quite a lot. There's another public business filings on the Secretary of State's website found more than 40 businesses with the word cannabis, marijuana, pot, or dispensary in their names. Let's give them a hand. That's fantastic. Even as a court challenge of the legalization of recreational marijuana remains unresolved, experts say the state needs to move quickly to establish clear rules for growing and selling marijuana commercially. The state will need to license and regulate sales outlets, set up tax collections. Founder of a new Rapid City-based cannabis consulting firm called Dakota Cannabis Consulting has got a really nice ring to it, am I right? He says, I think South Dakota has a great opportunity here, but there are some really key things that need to be done before July. And I'm with you. There's a lot of stuff that you guys got to do before July. So do it, Okay, so what else we got here? I'm cruising. I'm running out of time. I'm a chatty Cathy, as they say. Trump grants clemency to marijuana prisoners on last day of office. And say what you will, there's it's pretty cool. Feels like a new life, even though I don't even know the terms yet, said Craig Cecil. He was granted clemency for his cannabis conviction that landed him a life sentence. Weldon Angelo, an activist who received a presidential pardon for a federal marijuana conviction last month and has been involved as the White House talks about further clemency. So that's cool. In all, 12 people with marijuana-related convictions were included in the latest round of clemency actions, and more than 24 others with the other drug offenses on the records, and were also granted pardons or commutations. Well, I don't know what that means, but it sounds good. But advocates, including Angelo and Alice Johnson, they also received a presidential commutation in 2018, are going to take their wins where they can get them. Wednesday was a day to honor mercy and justice, and I say here. The 2020 letter that informed some of the new cannabis. Let me see. So I'm going to read a bunch of them here. Federal Damon Scott, shout out. John Knock, Anthony Dejon, Corvain Cooper, Wakui Long, Michael Pelletier, Brian Simmons, James Romans, Jonathan Braun, Noah Kleinman, Lynn Bailey. Granted a full pardon to Lynn Bailey or Barney. This pardon is supported by Senator Mike Lee. So that's fantastic. So for those guys that get to start their life afresh, I salute you. So anyway, this I'm going to read. It's called Hemp Building Materials Have Big Role to Play in Environmental Renewal. According to the United Nations Environment Program, the conventional building sector contributes up to 30% of total annual greenhouse gas emissions. So hemp building materials made from the plant stem are gaining acceptance. The stalk's thick inner core mixed with lime and water to create hempcrete. Structures built from hempcrete are highly energy efficient. And what I think is interesting is that, let me talk about the soil improvement, and then we'll move on. Growing hemp improves the soil it is grown in. The roots go deep, and they draw in toxins from the ground, as well as CO2 from the air, right into the plant itself, where it is stored in the cell walls permanently. Just dig that. One crop of industrial hemp grown on 1 acre can annually absorb 10 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. Hemp is nature's greatest carbon sequestration tool, and its fiber provides unique properties. So if you want to check that out, you can read more about it. But carbon sequestration, considered to be the most energy efficient building material today, and we're not using it, because in the beginning, one guy had trees and the other guy had hemp. And so the guy with the most weight got it turned into some, how it is. So anyway, Connecticut governor circulates draft marijuana legalization bill. The governor of Connecticut is circulating a draft bill, soliciting feedback. Governor Ned Lamont reiterated his support for legalizing marijuana during his annual State of the State address. So when you hear that from governors, that's good stuff. He's working with his neighboring states, looking forward to work with our tribal partners on a path forward to modernize gaming in our state. It would provide for automatic expungements for people with prior low-level marijuana possessions convictions from October 1st, 2015, Connecticut governor. Other provisions of the draft bill would restrict marketing to prevent appealing to youth. Let's see, wholesale marijuana flower would be taxed at $1.25 per gram under the proposal, while trim plants would be subject to a 50 cents tax per gram. But what in the world does that mean? They mean on top of it, right? Like 175? Because otherwise, why would untrimmed beautiful stuff be less? And then the hairy funk flower would be more. So anyway, Representative Jonathan Steinberg says he thinks it has extremely stronger prospects than it has extremely stronger prospects than it had in recent years. So like I said, when you come out of that November election season and we sweep the snot out of everything, South Dakota, Montana, you know what I'm saying? It really, it really pushed it. So when you go into the legislative session on the heels of that is really stinking pretty cool, And so Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday at 4 o'clock. I get in here. 4:20, I open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday was no different. I've about walked out of this session of cannabis legalization in a positive light. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson again is on KRFF 95.9 LPFM, Moorhead, Fargo, 701-478, a 4 and a 9, a 5 and 9. RadioFreeFargo.org. Go there and donate and stuff. Philip Cannahead Pilko does a Sunday thing on Canna-Talk ND. And I'm going to do this right now. This hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Flatland Guitar and Lutherie. Flatland Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, and Paul Reed Smith guitars, amongst many others. They also sell guitars on consignment as well as take trade-ins, along with having a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatland Guitar and Lutherie on Facebook or visit in person at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Looking for an axe? Go to Flatland and get it. All right, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson has wrapped up his week back strong, I'd say. Here comes a little Snoopy Snoop, and I'll see you at the end and wrap this up. Yeah, anybody know who that last song was by? Brand new DJ Qbert. That was Chinhead, and started that off with Riders on the Storm with Snoop D.O. Double. That's really fun, right? Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. I get in here at 4. I lay down a bag of cannabis and news at 4:20. This Thursday was no different. We had a great time. Next Thursday, I can assure you that me, Canna-Talk ND, Wilson, will be in this studio, and I will follow Side Stage with Trav. He also does noon to 3. Then you got an hour of automation, which, isn't random all the time. So it's a pretty good hour, I would say. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. I'll show this minus the music tomorrow. ND for Freedom on Facebook. Soon to be called North DeCannabist. So we're just waiting for the name to change. But if you look underneath ND for Freedom, you will see the name that it's going to be. But apparently we changed the name too often, so Facebook says we got to wait before it clears. But it'll be North DeCannabist, which is my brainchild. I think it's stinking awesome. DAKANNABIST. So sounds like North Dakota, but it also sounds like activist, cannabist. Anyway, we talk about cannabis in a positive light here. I just wanted to mention before I get out of here, as they say. Anyway, I hope you have a nice evening here in Fargo or wherever you're listening on KRFF 95.9 Moorhead, Fargo, RadioFreeFargo.org. You can donate. You can listen to stuff. You can, listen to stuff. But anyway, thanks for sticking with the independent radio station that's the best, dare I say, the boss of radio stations. Especially letting me, without censoring me, it's, respect that. But anyway, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, that is North Dakota's first, it's back. So they've passed it to the Secretary of State, so they're just waiting probably by now to start pushing out packets. So anywhere in North Dakota, you're going to probably start to see that rolling, and I'll keep you posted. And I'll probably have Leslie Ann Paulson, Committee for Compassionate Care, who's just a great lady, and she grows CBD in her yard. You know what I mean? You can't fault anybody for that. So we'll get into it with her, down the line when she starts to get rolling. And then because I don't know, I would do it. I don't know. I got anxiety about doing it. But if anybody out there wants to get me a phone conversation with Becker or Doctor, maybe not Laura Jones, she scares me. But anyway, everybody else is good to call in or come in. I'll sanitize a chair, and maybe Becker's a fan. So if you're listening to me, man, call me. Let's talk about this House Bill 1420.